Two legal experts, former Attorney General Michael Mukasey, also our chief legal analyst, Dan Abrams. And I take it we were just talking before as you were watching the piece. You both agree that this tweet in and of itself not that damaging?
No, I don't think that this is going to be a huge piece in the investigation. In fact, I don't think the president's tweets in general are going to be a particularly important focus. I mean, when you're coming on the heels of this deal with Michael Flynn, the two things that they're focusing on, I don't think is what happened in the transition, which is what the plea is about. It's about what happened during the campaign, and it's about what happened after that in terms of possible obstruction of justice. And I think those are going to be the two focus points.
And you're a former prosecutor as well,
General
Mukasey. When you saw that plea agreement, relatively narrow plea agreement, what did you make of it?
What I made of it is that a lot of the heavy breathing and a lot of the speculation is completely unwarranted. That plea agreement does not, to me, indicate that there's very much else there. When you have a witness who can put other people into criminal behavior, you can do one of two things. You can either immunize them if they're not willing to disclose their information. You can either give them immunity, in which case they have to testify truthfully, or else if they don't testify, they go to jail for contempt. If they testify falsely, they go to jail for perjury. Or else you can make them plead guilty to participating in the same criminal conduct that you're trying to prove up against the other people you're after, because that's the most convincing evidence of the existence of the conspiracy. Neither one of them is true.
We've thought that Robert Mueller could have gotten Michael Flynn on several other counts, not reported.
That's right. He made that clear in the document.
So didn't he have to get something significant in return?
No, not necessarily.
I think that's a very generous way to view it. The bottom line is, if you take this out of this investigation and just put it into the context of any investigation like this, Flynn is considered the smaller fish who they're cutting a deal with to potentially testify against bigger fish, period. And, you know, you can hope that he won't have anything else, but he did offer a proffer. He basically told them, here's what I can give you. And they thought to themselves, this is important enough for us to cut a deal on a small fry indictment here.
6 months in jail.
Yeah, a plea.
With all due respect, that's completely speculative. And tease it out, if he testifies at trial to a whole lot of the sort of things that Dan was just suggesting, then he's going to get cut to ribbons. I mean, you pleaded guilty to this patty cake charge, and now you're telling us you knew all this other stuff?
But now
that's what happens in every case. I mean,
no, it's not what happens when there's a good prosecutor in charge.
But of course it does. I mean, the bottom line is, whenever you cut a deal with someone, they're going to get attacked for cutting a deal when they testify by the defense. Every case. And so to suggest that, oh, he's going to get attacked because he cut a deal on a small fry plea, yeah, that's what happens.
He's not protected under the terms of this agreement. He's not protected against anything other than what he pleaded guilty to. So he's still got a Fifth Amendment right with respect to everything that took place during the campaign.
But that means Robert Mueller has leverage over him, doesn't it?
No.
He could come back with other charges.
He can come back with other charges, sure. But what's the point of simply taking a plea when you can go back with other charges?
So if you think this is not that big a deal, how do you answer that threshold question? Why would Michael Flynn lie to the FBI?
That is the question. And understand, he was being investigated by the FBI before the change in administrations. He's being investigated by the FBI, or being questioned by the FBI.
But he lied about these contacts.
Understood. But he's being questioned by the FBI before the change in administrations, when the FBI is still under the direction of the Obama administration. I don't know what he thought was going on at the time, but there are people in this world who would lie when the truth would do. We've all encountered them. And this looks very much like one of those cases.
Dan, it certainly seems from the agreement that Robert Mueller has Jared Kushner in his sights.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that if you're Jared Kushner right now, you're very nervous. But I do think we have to come back to the fact that we're talking a lot about the very facts of this agreement, which relate to the Jared Kushner and the rest of the people you mentioned in the transition period. That's not the focus. Meaning, you know, we've talked about this Logan Act violation, right? The notion that private citizens are talking to a foreign government
happens all the time.
When they shouldn't be. There's not going to be a prosecution here under the Logan Act.
We agree on that.
You know, the bottom line is there's either going to be a prosecution for what happened during the campaign, or there's going to be you know, issues related to that, or after this occurred with potential obstruction of justice. And so I think that's where Kushner has to be concerned, is what happened in the campaign itself, with regard to communications with the Russians.
That's one big concern, and I want to walk through the possibility of obstruction with you, General Mukasey. So the White House knows that Flynn is vulnerable to blackmail.
Right.
Take 18 days to fire him. The day after he's fired, the president meets with James Comey and says, I hope you can let this go, according to Comey. That on its face is not a problem to you?
No, for numerous reasons. Number one, Comey's not the guy who decides whether charges are going to be brought. That's decided by a prosecutor. I understand that Comey's got a history of telling people that charges aren't going to be brought with Mrs. Clinton, but that's not his function. Secondly, the investigation is being conducted by people in the field, not by James Comey. And third, the president says several days after or at about the same time, I want you to chase down anybody around me who you think has done something wrong. Add all that up, what it sounds like is he said, look, this guy has gone through a lot. He's been fired. He's served his country. Give him a break.
The notion that Trump knew and was thinking, oh, well, Comey doesn't make the decisions about the FBI and it's the people in the field, I think presumes a level of knowledge and awareness about exactly what the role of the FBI was in the context of this that maybe didn't exist at the time. This was, if it's true, this is the president talking to the guy he thinks is running the investigation about what he hopes will happen. Whether that's a crime or not is a separate question. But the notion that, oh, well, he would know that Comey isn't the one making the decision to me is, you know.
No, I'm not suggesting he would know. I'm suggesting that it's not obstruction because Comey doesn't make the decision. I agree. He probably didn't know.
And if there is obstruction, by the way, I think it won't just be Comey. It'll be piecing together.
It'll be a pattern of behavior.
Exactly. And that would be part of the reason they've cut these deals.
Thank you both very much. Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.